You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Mo Kelly here. I'll be with you until midnight, and then John Cobelt will come back to the studio and take over from me from midnight until 3 a.m. Neil Savager from 3 to 5 a.m., and then Amy King from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m., and the regular KFI schedule after that. Joining me once again in studio is Tiffany Hobbs. She usually hosts the Viral Load as part of Later with Mo Kelly on Wednesday nights, but it's a different type of Wednesday night, obviously, with the fires. And I was wondering what role social media was playing in all this as far as the dissemination of information. Are they picking up on things that maybe the traditional media has not?
Yeah, so social media has a huge role in what's going on. Definitely apps that are being used to disseminate information, to share real stories of people on the ground. And this is from the very beginning of the Palisades fire all the way up to the most recent fires in the last few minutes. It's just you're getting these personal anecdotes and experiences so that you can fully understand the scope of what we are watching or listening to in media. There are viral social media accounts like at Street People of Los Angeles on Instagram that pairs with different local news outlets. They definitely share information from KFI and other outlets, and they are integral in sharing all sorts of updates about these fires, warnings, and letting people know what's really happening. There's another one called West Side Current, a really popular online medium, a social media account, as well as the Citizen app, which has its own social media handles all over different platforms. And the three of these, Street People of Los Angeles, West Side Current, and Citizen, have been just getting copious amounts of information out. They are around the clock coverage like what we're doing. And again, they are sharing what KFI is also uploading to our social media as well. And just through that, you're just getting a comprehensive idea of what it does, in fact, look like to be in this situation, directly affected, not just as a person who is watching it as a spectator, like many of us are, but to be someone who has evacuated. They are talking, they are interviewing, they are getting people's personal accounts of what it's like to flee on foot or by car, people who were leaving their cars in the very beginning of the Palisades fire, again, all the way up to the most recent fires as well. You have people sharing information about evacuation zones. There have been quite a number of stories online, different videos shared about animal rescues. There was one specifically that went extremely viral of a horse in a stable in the Pacific Palisades. This horse was presumed as being abandoned. There was fire all around the stable. Some of you may have seen this video because, again, it went extremely viral. And the person who is recording the horse is narrating, saying, I don't know what to do. I can't get the horse to come out. And they are panicking. The human is panicking. The horse is panicking. The person recording actually reached out to LA Fire, who then reached out to their mounted unit. And they were able to, in a follow-up viral video, evacuate that horse. And so through those videos, through people in the comments sharing resources, you get to see these beautiful examples of humanity. And I think it just is really encouraging. We're seeing the devastation and the destruction, but there are also these examples of people really pulling together and showing that community, whether they are neighbors or whether they are strangers.
So social media, from what I take away from that, is social media is not only playing a passive role in telling the story, they're taking an active role in shaping the story as far as what is getting done, bringing resources together and helping people.
Absolutely. With the stories that are being told, not just of where these fires are located, but again, details of what's actually happening on the ground. Social media has taken a very active role, as you said, in being able to give that accurate information, to control a narrative, to present a narrative that might necessarily not be covered in other ways in mainstream news. People who aren't able necessarily to get that access. You're seeing people say, no, this is what's happening to me. Or, hey, look over here. We've not had coverage and we need coverage here. And because of social media, I've also seen examples of neighborhoods, homes, businesses, being able to receive some sort of interaction with LA Fire or whomever to be able to then get those boots on the ground and get help to their area.
A function of social media is also the apps in which we use to engage social media, to share information, to share clips, to share video. Someone turned me on to the Watch Duty app.
Yes.
And I said, where has this been all my life as far as to the up to the minute fire information, the amounts of acreage which has been consumed, the exact location and parameters of the fires?
Mo, I downloaded this app yesterday at my mother's encouragement after seeing it recommended in numerous places online. I did like you. Where has this been? But once I got it, I was able to see that I lived in an evacuation recommendation zone. I wouldn't have known that had I not have had that app because there's so much conflicting information. So Watch Duty Fire is an amazing resource.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
My
I haven't even had enough time to sit with it and learn all of its capabilities, but it has enough immediate information, accurate information, timely information that is not only helpful for people listening, but it's helpful for me personally.
Yeah, and it's feeding a lot of the local news outlets as well. They are showing graphics that are available
directly
on this
from
app. Absolutely.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily cite them, but that's where they're getting this information from.
What are you using personally beyond the Watch Duty Fire app, beyond the sites that, in other words, what do you trust? In other words, I need to find out the latest on such and such fire. I trust KFI, but I also know there's other information out there which might have something that KFI doesn't.
Yeah, well, again, I spoke to it earlier. Street People of Los Angeles, which is
that's your first stop.
That's my first stop on Instagram or Facebook. So social media, Street People of Los Angeles, all one word. They often and always, I think their entire platform is predicated on sharing breaking news or things that aren't necessarily covered in mainstream media so that you can know what's going on in your neighborhood. I really enjoy them. And not only is that information accurate, but it's extremely up to the minute. It's right there. It's up to date. Another one would be the the Ring app. So Ring, if you have that Ring camera on the outside of your home, those cameras that can collect footage, you can see what's happening in real time. And many of us do have that. There is its own platform called Neighbors on the Ring app, which functions like social media, and people are uploading information, questions, all sorts of details to the Neighbor app, and you can find out a lot of what's going on right there in your neighborhood.
Okay, we always talk about how social media, and even Mark Ronner has talked about this, how social media can be a bastion of disinformation, not really vetted information, even though it could be well-intentioned. We had some people call in last night with information that had not been vetted. Turned out it was not correct. I mean, how do you go about trying to differentiate the well-intended but incorrect information from the thoroughly vetted and necessary information?
And well-intended is right. Many people want to help. Of course, there are some people who are going to use it and be nefarious, but most people just want information and want to help others. You have to cross-check. You need to go to multiple sources. Don't take the first thing at face value. See something, check it online against something else, and find the commonalities. You'll find a thread of some sort of realism or accuracy there, as long as you can compare and contrast with more than one source. Not necessarily dissemination, but it has to do with people panicking, and that is happening. People are nervous because we don't fully know just how far reaching these fires may be. And I'm seeing on certain apps, people seeing fires and wanting to quickly evacuate. They want to leave, and they're not necessarily in an evacuation zone. They might be 20 miles removed from where the fire is actually happening, but they're seeing so much information that they're becoming overly stimulated, and they're saying, I need to leave. And they're questioning, should I leave? Should I leave? And people are sharing information. So they're getting conflicting information, and then they choke resources because that's the problem, because they are wanting to leave and they get on the roads or they get the hotel room and they don't actually need it. But it's the panic and it's the listening to others just encourage them to do something without fully checking and cross-checking.
Something we get working in news talk, and I know Mark Ronner probably has dealt with this. we have a phone line and people or talkback people are very well intentioned. They will try to offer information. It's like, hey, there's this fire over here, or hey, this is fire over there. It's like, why aren't you talking about it? And they forget our responsibility is not to be first. Our responsibility is to be accurate and make sure that whatever we're putting out there is accurate. Because to your point, the last thing we want to do is unintentionally mislead or provide information which leads to a panic or pushes people in the wrong direction. So we have to be hyper vigilant. And even though you may have heard it or read it somewhere on some site or some app, we can't just run with it. We need to be able to corroborate it somewhere.
Yesterday, I saw many people, well-intentioned again, reporting that certain structures that they loved, beloved structures in the Palisades, the Pacific Palisades at the time, had burned to the ground. One of those structures they were naming was Palisades High School. Quite a few people had this idea that Palisades High School had completely been flattened, that it was gone.
I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
And in fact, today, it is now said that Palisades High School is extremely salvageable, that, there were structures that did in fact burn, but no, it did not burn to the ground. But people are emotionally vulnerable. People are hungry for information, and they are jumping, like you said, on the first bits of information that are going out there, and they're sharing it widely and then not necessarily detracting or backtracking afterward. They're
no retraction.
No retraction. They're just letting that information stay out there, and it's often inaccurate.
Here is where I will bring in Mark Ronner, because in moments like these, the culmination is we've had this onslaught of criticism of legitimate media sources. So when it comes to a time like this, where you really need us, people are less inclined to first look for us, second, listen to us, and then three, use the information given from us. And they instead go by some fly-by-night on social media, which hasn't been vetted, or information they got somewhere on TikTok, which hasn't been vetted and may very well be disinformation to just create chaos.
You're completely right. And especially right now, I would be skeptical of anything you see on X/Twitter or Facebook, because as we all know, Twitter has turned into just this cesspool of disinformation since Elon Musk took it over. There are studies that quantify this, but we don't need to quantify it. The answer is too much. And we've seen that in recent days, Facebook, their head, Mark Zuckerberg, has announced they're not going to do fact-checking anymore, and they're going to resort to some sort of lame community notes. I have been monitoring Twitter ever since I woke up today and all throughout work. And not only is it full of disinformation, which will confuse anybody who's in a serious situation looking for information they need, possibly to save their lives. It's full of people making political hay out of it, too, making insane false accusations to score political points. And I'll say, I don't think I'm stepping too far out of my lane if I say, if you see a disaster like the kind that's happening around Los Angeles right now, and you use that to be a troll against your political opponents, reevaluate your whole life.
I was having a conversation with Tim Conway Jr. earlier. We were doing basically an extended crosstalk. And I was saying there will come a time in which we can have a legitimate conversation about why something happened, parsing blame, assessing blame, and seeing where the system may have fallen short, and maybe where the caretakers of that system could have fallen short. But that conversation sure as hell ain't today. And it's not now.
No, we always get the argument during any tragedy, whether it's fire or a shooting, don't politicize the tragedy. And some people take issue with it because they want to know what caused it and how to prevent it from happening again. What I've been seeing today isn't that. It's people just deciding that here's a good chance to jump on the other side, scapegoat them.
We all want to know why this fire, that fire started. We want to know how it happened. We want to know if there was anything within the governmental apparatus which either encouraged it or made a pathway for it to happen. We all want to know that. But I got news for you. Nobody knows a damn thing as of yet.
Well, people be a good consumer of where you get your news in a situation like this. Definitely don't get it from social media, or if you do, click all the way through to the source and decide whether or not that source is legit or not. Traditional outlets like TV or KFI or anybody else, none of them are perfect, but they are infinitely more reliable than some jackass who's just trying to spout blame, get clicks, that kind of thing.
I always say, look, if you're going to put your name on something, in other words, if you're going to put something out there, you should be able and willing to put your name on it. And when I talk to you here at KFI, I'm putting my name on it. So I want to be double, triple, quadruple sure that whatever I give you, there is a legitimate source in which I can corroborate it. My job is not to be first. My job is to be accurate, because lives depend on it. And I'm not just going to fly there. Hey, there's a new fire here. Oh, there's a new fire there. Oh, by the way, we found out that so-and-so's. No. That's not my job. And I think I would be doing you listening right now a disservice if I were to just hypothesize or start assessing blame as far as how this fire might have started. There's no way for me to know. They haven't even started the investigation on any of these fires. The best they can tell you is the general location where they thought the fire started. In fact, it was announced today that the Pacific Palisades fire was thought, I'm quoting, was thought to have begun in a backyard of one of the houses. We don't know if it was intentional. We don't know if it was arson. It was someone dropped a match accidentally, or the sun hit in a magnifying glass. We don't know anything at this point. It's just pure speculation. And there are those people who want to use this as an opportunity to forward their political ideology. That's not me.
No, and this is one of those times that it's really driven home that it's not a game, and lives are at stake when you spread disinformation in situations like that. We do know that things that contributed to the fires are high winds. Weather extremes are at the root of climate change, and I couldn't possibly care less whether you believe in that or don't. I care that the scientists do, the people who know more than I do and who have spent their lives and their careers learning about it. They tell us that it's the high winds. They tell us that it's dry brush from 8 months of no rain. They also tell us that it's extra brush that got dry from a freakish amount of rain prior to that 8 months. Earlier in the year. Those are the people I'm listening to, and you really have to, be on your guard against people telling you things that are unreliable in situations like this and spreading it so that other people get hurt by it.
I try to put myself in the shoes of the people who need me most. And the people who need me most right now just lost their house. The people who need me most right now don't know where to go, and they're not sure whether they should leave their home or what they need to take with them if they are going to leave their home. The people that need me most need me to stay on target, to keep myself stay in my shoes and keep my eye on the ball, because the people who need me most are not worried about the political implications of any of this. They're worried about making sure their pets are safe. They're trying to make sure that their family's safe. They're trying to make sure that they have a place to go. They have a place where they can get some blankets. They can reunite with their families if they're separated. The people who need me most do not care about all that other BS right about now. There will come a time in which we can break down where the system may have fallen apart, or we were grossly neglectful in as far as what we did as far as the planning and preparation and execution. But that's not today.
That's a good rule of thumb. When you're thinking about tweeting something or posting something, don't think about your friends laughing over it over a beer at the bar, which might be on fire right now. Think of the person who is petrified, is in imminent danger, and has kids, animals, old people to take care of, and they're looking online or on whatever platform you're on because they need to know what to do.
When I started tonight at around 8 o'clock, when I was just talking by myself to you, I was saying that KFI specifically is not talking about this from a distance. We're talking about this as people who are also going through it with you, members of this community. There are, to my mind, in the various conversations I've had with executives here and station management, some 6 or 7 people who worked in this office who lost their houses in the past 24 hours. Do you really think I give a damn about the politics? I'm thinking about them. They don't know what they're going to do. They're not sure where they're going to be sleeping tonight or maybe next week.
This is one of those times that you just want to grab some people by the shoulders and say, grow the hell up, shake that stuff off. This is not the time for that. We need reliable information right now. And, you know, you can clock back in like the sheepdog and the wolf another time, and we can start in with the same old BS. But right now, there's no room for that.
We have plenty of time for all that. I promise you, in the next 3 weeks, we will eventually get back to a point where we can have the same old conversations and the same old complaints and the same old gripes that we always do, regardless of where you fall on the political spectrum.
I can tell you, I have covered mudslides, fires, obviously, earthquakes, shootings, airplane crashes, and more in my career as a journalist. And the people who understand that it's all hands on deck time, those are the ones that you want to look for. The others, tune them out.
Not to be contradictory, we're telling you about how much of there is disinformation on social media, but social media can, when you approach it correctly, it can be a very useful tool for you to be able to access important information. You have to be very clear on your sources. You have to be very clear on where the information is coming from, whether you can corroborate it with some other source and somehow vet it. And then you can make sure that you're getting the latest information, the most important information, and the most valuable information for you and your family. And it's something that we have to do here at KFI. We have all sorts of sources. We have people calling us. We have people emailing us. We're saying like, hey, people who we respect saying this is being released. There's information about this fire, which is just getting started in this area. And we have to hold. We cannot be fast on the draw. We have to make sure that everything is in order before we take it public.
And in any developing story, information changes as the story develops, and reputable news outlets acknowledge that. Say, we've learned this, facts have changed, we need to make a correction. That's normal. That's nothing to be ashamed of. Spreading what you know is disinformation. I'm starting to think that there should be harsher and harsher punishments for that as opposed to none.
Well, if we do not get it together, and I mean that in a grand sense, if we don't get it together, then these moments, especially when you're talking about a major disaster, these moments are going to be far more painful for us because we won't know where to get the information that we need, such as evacuation orders or where to stay away from or where to go, how to get help. If we can't learn how to differentiate between real and fake news sources, you know, that fake news phrase, then we're in a whole lot of trouble, a whole lot more than we are right now. Hey, Tiffany, can you just stay around for a little while longer so we can talk a little bit more about social media and what have you?
Absolutely.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Mo Kelly here, be with you until midnight tonight, and then John Cobelt will take over for me at midnight. We'll have Neil Savager again at 3 a.m. and Amy King at 5 a.m. And since I've been here, we've had, I'll say, the expansion of what is called the Sunset Fire. We'll have an update on that shortly. And there was this weird moment, and I say moment because it was just a moment where we had these houses which were on fire in Studio City. And it was weird because it wasn't connected to any fire around it. It wasn't like you could say that it was embers from the Hollywood Hills, the Sunset Fire, because that's a good 20 miles or so in between. There was nothing connecting them. And it got us thinking that some of this, and I don't have physical evidence to prove it, but it makes you wonder if there isn't an arson component to this, because there are fires which are popping up which have nothing to do with the major fires.
And that's what people are talking about online, Mo, as well, is just ideas that these fires seem very convenient. One starts yesterday. It takes a lot of the resources. It takes a lot of the news coverage, if not all of the news coverage. And then you have fire after fire pop up. And we do have these copycat arsonists. We do have people who want their claim to fame to be destruction. And this is the perfect kindling, so to speak, for that. So that's a conversation that is being had online, absolutely, ad nauseum.
And it could be a combination of things. It's a combination of, it could be a legitimate fires, which were not arson, and you do have the winds. And we do know that there is an unseemly, a criminal element to this. We know that a number of people have been arrested for looting. As a matter of fact, Sheriff Luna spoke to that earlier today.
Other police officers who are working all the impacted areas out there. They're involved in evacuations. They're involved in traffic control, ingress and egress into the area. They're involved in security, which the chief talked about, and I talked about it earlier. We're up to 3 arrests with looting. That is 100% unacceptable. I'm going to repeat it. If you do not belong in these areas, do not go there. We have additional people that we've brought in just to make sure that people's property are left alone. These people have gone through so much. Don't put them through more than they have to go through. And then we're on humanitarian missions. I have deputies dropping off food, blankets, and other things to people who have either been evacuated or who just need somebody to talk to and frankly just give a hug to. Those are the kind of things that we're doing out there. I do want to talk about evacuations. Regarding the Eaton fire, we have over 70,000 of our community members who have been impacted by either evacuation orders and or warnings. The Palisades fire, approximately 60,000 who have been impacted by evacuation orders or warnings. As I said earlier, we have called in additional resources, not only for what's in front of us, but looking around the corner, what's next. Both fire chiefs have made it very clear we are not out of danger. There's a lot of work to be done. For me, in my other role as mutual aid coordinator, just to give you an example, as we are not only calling in our resources, we check with other departments, both in the county and outside the county, and we've provided Pasadena Police Department with additional resources, one from the Long Beach Police Department in a mutual aid capacity, and from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So I'd like to thank those 2 departments. And that's something we do in law enforcement. Santa Monica's asked for help last night, and we also coordinate and helping with that as well. Chief Maroney mentioned it. Unfortunately, we do have 5 fatalities. And we're praying that number doesn't increase, but there's a lot of work to do. And we'll see what happens there. We are up to 3 looting arrests as we speak. And then the last thing I'd like to leave you with again is earlier I spoke about evacuation warnings, evacuation orders, and a lot of road closures that are taking place in both of these locations. I'm not going to go through them all, but I encourage our community members to go to lacounty.gov/emergency, where you will get updates on those orders, warnings, and road closures. And again, I am really proud of our community overall. Sometimes we talk about the looting and people who aren't listening. I'm going to tell you, 99% of the people are listening, and I think that's why hopefully the injuries and fatalities and all those ugly things will stay down. So thank you to our LA County residents for working with us in partnership.
Not trying to connect dots which don't connect, but we do know that there are those who would like to increase the mayhem and chaos out there. And so some of these fires, I'm not exactly sure they're happening organically, such as the one in Studio City. And here's some background on that.
From straight in the middle, right there, right?
Exactly, right there.
So
What's happening there?
That's a yard of another home that it's moved to. That's even up the street from where this one is. And they're talking, I hear them talking about that right now too. So I'm trying to see, that's even up the hill. That's on a whole different street.
That
I
fizzle
think
out, Mike? Oh, no, there it is.
Yeah, I think that's on Goodland Avenue. So that's a whole hillside above. Oh, look at that.
It's getting bigger.
And it's just growing as we speak.
And it's going to hit that, oh man, it's going to hit the eave of that house, and those flames are going to go in there. So yeah, you've got the brush that it spread to, and now it's hit the backyard of a home here, and you see the embers shooting up from it. Balcony's about to collapse. They're asking everybody to stay clear of the balcony that's about to collapse on the original home. This is what a mess. So we got County Fire helping out as well. They got an aircraft above it.
Yep, it's falling apart, Mike. Look at that. Wow.
Well, you could see the firefighters on the ground.
Yeah.
But you get a sense of what was happening in Studio City. There's just a house fire. There's really nothing connecting it to any of the other fires. It's not like we can say that these were embers from a nearby Hollywood Hills fire. This was just multiple houses in a certain small area of Studio City, which were for some reason on fire with no real connection beyond those houses. And Tuwala Sharp, we have some time here. You've been very busy today, and I appreciate you coming in. In fact, I don't think you should have come in today, but that's just me. But I think it's important because I started off tonight talking about how KFI is not talking about this from a distance. We are not talking about something in which we're far removed. We are going through this collectively with everyone else who's listening. Maybe someone who's listening has been evacuated. Someone is unsure. They're looking at the fires and wonder if they're, going to have to take their family somewhere else, and they're going to be displaced, whether they might lose their home. And I know there are at least 5 or 6 people within iHeart LA who've already lost their homes. Last night, when we started the show, we saw the beginning of the Eaton Canyon fire. I said something to the effect of, hey, if you got to go, you got to go. I know that was real close to where you lived. Make sure you took care of your family. We started the show shortly thereafter because I remember we got one guest on the line and then you had to leave. You left. What has happened since that time when you left last night?
Since leaving last night, I have seen my world turned upside down. From going last night and packing up the house under an evacuation advisory, which, my family, we're quick to heed advisories. We don't need the mandatory. You're advising us, we leave. I packed up and left. My mother had a bunch of stuff she wanted to pack up. She put it in her car, but she was waiting. She's waiting for my brother to come and pick her up. And for reasons that I will not get into, her car was left there when the fire came within 3 blocks. 3 blocks, houses on fire, everything just south of where we are, heading towards Lake Street, just on fire. Embers coming into the area. She had to go. My brother came and got her. They had to go. Today, found out that she had left all of her stuff in the car. And very important stuff, which was sitting right there. Kind of like when we talked about the cars that were abandoned, that were bulldozed. Mm-hmm. It was kind of in a situation like that. My co-parent, Sai, was in contact with someone who found out that we were able to go back to Altadena. There were some people who were saying you could drive up. Some were saying you could walk up. And so she said, hey, let's go. I'll go with you. We'll get the car. At least we can do that. We head to Altadena. This is maybe 1 PM. We're coming from North Hills. It's bright as all get out. The closer we get to Altadena, the closer it looks more and more like, I don't say this in jest, but like a Middle East war zone. The fires, the color, it was just dark and fires on both sides of the freeway. You could just see it. It was happening. As we pulled off the freeway, it got closer and closer. We found out we could not go up there in the car. We started walking and walking. This is a neighborhood I've lived in pretty much my entire life. And walking up and seeing businesses that have been there for years burnt to the ground. Seeing a church that's right across the street from the cemetery up in Altadena burning on fire. We tried to take a shortcut around, and the cemetery, a transformer right above the cemetery, right next to the cemetery on Marengo, exploded and shot sparks into the cemetery and just spread like a wildfire. We're seeing fires nonstop. We said, you know what? Let's go back to the car, figure out a way. My co-parent talked to the CHP. They said, you know what? You are not helping the situation. We understand, but we cannot begin fire drops. We can't really clean up the area. We can't enact firefighters if we're trying to save people. You want to add to that problem? We said, please, we're begging you, got to get this car. He said, you know what? I'm going to turn my head. I'm going to let you guys up there, go up there, get the car, and get out. As we start driving up the hill after going back and getting my car, slowly but surely, I could not recognize where I was, because a lot of where I am, without seeing the street, I see just by landmarks, houses, things that I pass by walking to school in the morning, or this, that, and the other. And when everything is flattened and street signs are on fire or burning or melted, just warped, you say to yourself, where am I at? And everywhere I went, driving up the streets, houses on both sides are either on fire or just turned to absolute rubble. By the time we get to my neighborhood, we pulled up. Thank God my mother's car was still there, and our house was not touched. And the smoke had absolutely murdered the house, but the house was not on fire. The house right next door to us, where there's a almost adjoined garage, that garage is on fire and burning to the ground. The house that's right behind us, heading over to Altadena Drive, that house is just on fire and on the ground. The house directly across the street from us, it's fine. But all the houses on both sides of that are burned to the ground.
You posted this video, didn't you?
Yes, I posted this video, and I'd say about 85% of my block is burned to the ground. Every business on Fair Oaks from Altadena Drive going down to Woodbury, pretty much all these businesses I grew up with, gone. Houses, gone on Fair Oaks, gone. I'm standing there looking at it. I could not put it into words, the shock of what I was seeing. We've talked and reported on these fires in various areas from Santa Barbara to Ventura County. All these fires we've reported on. But seeing it from that perspective, and when we pulled up, there were 2 first responders who were actually digging up the front yard, trying to help put out some embers, because there were some fires on our front yard, some little sparks on the side, and they were doing everything they could to just turn this over, because they had to get out of the area. They had to get out of there and say, before we go, this is our own personal mandate. We're going to try to save which houses we can. They didn't have any fire hose or anything. This is just 2 guys with axes and hose and stuff like that. They were doing everything that they could to try to smolder the embers and put stuff out. And they said, hey, look, we can let you go inside, get a few things if you want to. When a first responder looks at you in your face and tells you that your house is not likely to make the night, and you see the house behind yours on fire, you see the house next to yours on fire, and you see all the other houses in the neighborhood, both sides of the street, just staring out into what used to be Altadena Drive, what used to be just these beautiful, beautiful old homes, and they're all rubble. There isn't a word I can come up with that describes what I felt in that moment. Hopelessness, despair, heartbreak, but also just kind of a feeling like I'm not special. When he's telling me my house may go up in flames, I instantly said to myself, I said, you know what? I'm not special. I'm not being picked on. Every house on my GD neighborhood is on the ground and on fire. It's burnt down. So that's what I was feeling in this moment. So when I see these fires, and I see even what you're talking about, just the idea of someone potentially setting these fires on purpose, I hope that there's a hell hot enough for them, if that would be the case. Because what I saw, I'm seeing people crying, people on their knees, not understanding the damage that's happened. People who have, I don't know if anyone listening understands what it means to lose everything, your entire house gone. Nothing could be salvaged. There's no go into the garage. Nothing. Just there are some places that were just chimneys is the only remnant that that the house was even there. You say, well, that's a chimney right there. So I know that that's where this house may have started. And that's all you're seeing.
Were you able to, when you got back up to your house, were you able to get anything of consequence out of it?
Just the keys to my mom's car. Because they were literally almost doing a sweep about there, moving people out. They were like, get out, go down, get out. You're not even supposed to be here.
You told me something that I really didn't know, that they can't do water drops or any type of real work to save the houses if they think that people are still in the houses.
That's what they explained to me. That's what they explained to me, is because we asked, is anything going to be done? Because we're seeing the house. They said, arguing like our house could be saved. Like it's the fires are nearby. Is anyone coming? They're like, sir, we are so sorry. We do not have the manpower, and And he said, kind of as a matter of fact, like, we can't even do a water drop in this area until we could, because it could likely kill somebody if we come around. If you're still here, we have to clear the area before we can even start fighting these fires. Our mandate right now is not to put out these houses, not because we're callous or we're cold or we don't care. Our job number one right now is getting people out of the area, saving lives. We're trying to keep the casualties down to 0 if we can. And that only helps if we get people out of here. That's the only way we can do it. And he said, in all likelihood, with the wind blowing and what we're expecting this evening, he said, I'm just telling you, I don't want to lead you astray. I don't want to lie to you. I'm telling you straight. I've been doing this for a long time. This house is probably not going to be here in the morning.
When do you think you would try to go back and find out if there's anything?
I mean, maybe next week. It was hard enough getting up there, and when you see and as we're leaving, it's getting closer and closer to when it's getting darker. And Altadena Sheriff, God bless you, LA Fire Department, Altadena Fire Department, everyone that was out there, the work that you're doing, you do not get enough credit, I don't think, in any given day for what you're doing right now, putting your lives on the line. We actually gave the two of the gentlemen a ride back down the hill because they were like on the last
First
shift
responders.
up there. Yeah, and they're just like, because they missed the ride, they said they were going to have to walk back down Fair Oaks through the smoke, through all that. And I'm like, nope, get in the car. I'll take you down. I'll take you down the hill. Because if they were just like, we're really not supposed to be here. We're supposed to be out of here.
When you were up there, how many other people did you see? Just guesstimating.
There was no one in our neighborhood. Civilians. There was no one on our, because there was really nothing to see. There's nothing to see in our neighborhood. There's really no houses there. The houses next door to us, we saw them leave last night. So as I was packing up the house next door to me and the house on the other side, they were already gone. So they weren't there. And there's no other houses really in the neighborhood that you could really see. On the other side of the street, I could almost see a straight block down through what used to be houses. There used to be houses there. I shouldn't be able to see a block down with no obstructed view outside of smoke. That's how bad the damage is. It's almost like all of Altadena is damn near gone. From all the reports I'm getting, all the places we used to go, all the stores, all the restaurants. Brian Blackmore was talking about one of his favorite restaurants is the Fox Inn. It's like a little restaurant, a little dinner.
I remember
there.
that, yeah.
Gone. All of these places are gone. That is how bad the damage is. And I've seen it myself. So I'm like, when I drove up we came up Marengo and we passed by Calaveras. This is a huge street, big, beautiful house. I believe Meshach Taylor had also beautiful houses. And you just see nothing but rubble. These places, it's so we saw a few people there who looked like they were trying to throw water on some house. One person looked like they gave up and they started walking away. They got in the car. They just walked away. Not a lot of people up there, but you could see cars making their way down. That's one thing I did notice, that a lot of cars were making their way down. And the border, California Highway Patrol, they have it blocked off, I think, from the point whenever you try to get off into Pasadena or into Altadena at Arroyo, all the way down. You're not getting up past Woodbury into Altadena Drive, all the way down Washington. You're not getting up into Altadena. Anything below that, they're not trying to have you up there. And what business do you have up there right now?
Mm-hmm.
Most of us who live up there, we've got what we need to get, and we're out of there. There's not a lot of people who need to be up there right now. It was made very, very clear. Get your stuff and get out.
I asked you on the phone earlier today. I'm going to ask you again because I want to hear it again. Everyone in your family is safe.
Yes. Amen to that. That is the greatest gift. Mm-hmm. You know, when being faced with losing everything, I said to myself, well, my kids are good. I am good. And in the end of the day, as crazy as it may sound, but in that moment, it hasn't hit me the way I thought it would have, because in that moment, I said to myself, dude, it's just stuff, man. It's stuff.
It may be just stuff, but you are a little bit older and can better process this. And I wonder how your kids are processing this.
They're very sad for me because they've seen my collection of stuff. They know how much I've put into it. They know how much I was trying to build it back after having everything stolen before. And so they know what I've put into it. And so to know that I'll be losing all of that I've been trying to collect up again. And, you know, I mean, all those plaques that we have from back in the day, I mean, you know, I got gold and platinum plaques galore of all the artists whose careers I helped shape. I was there on day one with some of these artists. People that, you know, my name, you know, Destiny's Child was there day one. I have that plaque. You know, Eminem, day one. I got that 10 million album sold plaque. It's the size of like a large, you know, flat screen television. I couldn't put that in the car. I'm like, there are certain things I had to make those decisions. Yeah, I got one of those. One with the spread out one.
Yeah, the horizontal one.
Yeah, the horizontal one. Yeah, man. I got that one. I got the 50 Cent one. I got the Chronic 2001 plaque. I got so many plaques courtesy of y'all over at Interscope. I got Eric Benet plaque. I got the Janet Jackson Velvet Rope Tour plaque.
Courtesy of us when we were at Virgin Records.
Yes. Mo is responsible for me getting a lot of plaques. Look, I have all of those. And I think to myself, you can't rebuy those things. But I had to say, like, you know, what are you going to do? You know, I can't take it with me. I can't pack it all. I need to get the things that are essential, you know, some treasured memories for my kids. You know, I think, the last few, teeth that fell out, you know, things like that, things that I don't want to have to think, man, that's something that I'll never replace. No, I want that. I want the children's teeth. I want the little bag with the hair, you know, my son's first little, Air Jordan, little soft Air Jordan that he never put on. He never wore those things.
Yeah, but he's like 6 feet, 8 inches tall now.
Yeah. But those things that you'll never get again, you want to take those things with you, you know, so you get those things.
Well, you're a better man than I am, Twala. Look, I understand why this might be a necessary diversion.
This helps. This helps a lot. Working helps a lot, man. Working, providing, you know, coverage and news for other people, so other people know that they're not alone. I think it's one of the greatest things. I think all the response from even me posting my videos, knowing that I'm not alone, knowing that all of Altadena is feeling this.
Look, they say that the Lord won't give you more than you can handle, but damn it, you've been handling a lot over the past 30 years.
Yeah,
a lot.
The Lord's got faith in me.
I'm not laughing at you. I am laughing with you. Amen to that. We'll have more in just a moment. It's KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.